his team for a spot in the final. What are your thoughts about your relationship with Jim through the years?
Well, we go back to 1975, and we played junior hockey together in Medicine Hat Tigers. I actually talked yesterday to Bob Ridley, who was our bus driver. He called me, and on the radio, bus driver. I think he was with the Tigers for 50 years. And I said, "What did you think in 1975? You'd be driving around two general managers meeting in the Final Four about 50 years later." But when I played Medicine Hat, I was an overage. Jimmy was a 17-year-old. We played together 1 year, and then hired in 1992 when I became the assistant manager in Detroit. Needed someone to kind of replace me, and brought him in, and I became manager, and he became assistant manager. And certainly a lot of the success that we had in Detroit, in my mind, I really attribute to Jimmy Nill. He ran the draft and responsible for the Zetterbergs and Datsyuks, him and his scouting staff. And obviously we go way back, and we're good friends. He's done an amazing job here with Dallas. It was tough to see him leave in 2013 or 14, so he's been here about 10 years. And he's built up a tremendous hockey team. They got great vets, great young kids. They've done a great job in the draft, and good goaltending. So we know we're in for a tremendous series. And I talked to Jimmy yesterday. Probably we won't talk the rest of the series. We'll talk. My brother scouts for Dallas as well. He's an amateur scout for the Dallas Stars, live in Vernon, BC. So looking forward to the next 2 weeks. Should be a great series, and obviously very grateful and thankful for everything that Jimmy Nill did for me and for us when we were together in Detroit.
Second row on the right, Nick.
Hey, Ken, that was basically my question. So just a couple little angles on that. Just how gratifying is it to see him do it on his own, right? Be a GM in his own right. And then two, Joe McDonnell came too. He had a big role in Detroit. What do you think of the job he's done in Dallas?
Well, I'll get to that first. When we won Game 7 the other night in Vancouver, the next morning I woke up to a text from Ryan Martin, who's obviously the assistant general manager for the New York Rangers, just kind of congratulating us both on getting this to the Western Conference Final. And, my assistant manager now obviously is assistant manager with the New York Rangers. So it's kind of strange, I guess, to see three of us in the Final Four. Joe McDonnell, Håkan Andersson, Mark Leach were key people with Jimmy Nill. And when I became manager in 1997, they, from 97 to about 02, 03, and you were, I'm not sure if you were there, but certainly they found, late round Zetterbergs, Datsyuks, Fransons, Filppullas, Hoodlers, Kronwalls, Ericssons. I mean, they really found a lot of the players that led to our success from 2005 to 2015. So, like I said, Joe McDonnell, Jimmy, Mark Leach were scouts on our staff in Detroit. So, it's they want to win, and we want to win. So it's going to be a great week. But certainly, Jimmy and Mark Leach and Joe McDonnell, my brother Dennis, have done I think an amazing job at the draft table in building the team that they've got.
Third row on the right, Ryan.
Chris, and Ken, you may want to answer this too. I was going to ask about Dylan Holloway. When you go back to the trade deadline and you guys were envisioning after all your trades what your playoff lineup looked like, where did Dylan Holloway factor in at that time? Because I know he had just been sent down. And I guess what I'm getting at is, did he kind of just pile drive his way into this lineup through performance?
He definitely moved up with the way he played. I can't say that we envisioned him being on our second line, playing key minutes like he is. We obviously thought very highly of him, knew that he was only going to get better from what we saw early at the trade deadline, and where he was going to fit in the lineup, whether that was fourth line, kind of energy, physicality, bringing that kind of element to our team. We pushed up. We had some injuries, played some key minutes on our third line, and then we were like, oh, we got something here. He's playing really well. He's got a lot of confidence. And then, he's just continued to earn ultimately my trust. And, he's moved up to that second line, and, I think he's bringing a lot.
I think your first game, you think you got hurt, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
It was against New York,
So
played
I guess, yeah.
4 minutes. I didn't see him very much, and
He was out for like, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks, and then he came back, and Chris and I talked, and I thought he needed some time in the American League, and then I really think the last stint there, I think he played 18 games, he had 10 goals, moved to left wing, and I think he really got his confidence, and then when he came back, he's really taken full advantage of the opportunity.
I think I'll just follow one more thing. We talked about, we came back from the injury, played a few games mid-January, and there's nothing wrong with his game. It was good, but we felt there was more. We sent him to Bakersfield just to work on some things. It was a temporary assignment. We had all intentions of coming back after a week or 2 weeks, whatever the deadline was. And you send a player down there, sometimes they don't make the most out of it. And Dylan was open-minded. We wanted him to work on some things, spend some time playing center. And, going down there, I think they did a really good job with him. He worked really hard, had a good open mind, got some confidence, scored some goals, was used in the penalty kill, power play, regular 5-on-5. And, that time down there was beneficial for him and definitely beneficial for our team. And now it's paying off.
Front right, Derek.
Kenny, I just want to ask you about the growth of this leadership group here, Connor and Leon. And they've been through a lot of disappointment, but from the bubble to getting knocked out in the first round by Winnipeg. How have you seen Connor and Leon and Darnell and that core group really grow to a point where now they're in their prime and they expect to be winning now because of all those experiences?
Well, I mean, tremendous growth, I would say. When I got here 2019, and some of you were in the room, I think I talked about the importance of being in lots of big games. The first year wanted to be in some big games in March, weren't sure if we could make the playoffs, but that's where I believe as a player, the more, and now you get in the playoffs, the more experiences you got, it makes a difference. I think going into Game 6 at home against Vancouver the other day, we'd been in that situation 2 years ago, going into LA in Game 6, down 3-2 and had to win a big road game. This was flipped. We had to win a big home game, and then you go into Game 7, and you've been in it before 2 years earlier. So, number one, I would say they've been in lots of big games. We played lots of playoff games, and they've just. We expect lots of 22 and 23-year-olds in the National Hockey League in terms of what they can do on the ice and leadership, but ultimately you need to have some year. You need to be 25, 26, 27 years of age, and so I think that they've grown as players and tremendous growth as leaders, and certainly Connor, Leon, Nuge, Darnell. We've tried to add to that. It's why you probably brought in a Corey Perry and Ekholm and some other Zach Hyman, some veteran guys that have been around, and you try to grow that leadership group. But certainly Connor and Leon drive our team on and off the ice.
Second row on the right, Josh.
Chris, I'm just wondering about what you've seen from Evans in terms of his development since you've got to town, and also how much credit does Paul Coffey, how does he fit into this equation of Evans' outburst or offensive explosion?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be fair not to credit Paul with what he's brought to Evan's game. I think since Paul's been here, just encouraging the defensemen to make plays and not worry about mistakes, limiting those obviously, but giving them a lot of confidence to make those plays and giving them an insight of what plays are to be made and where they can pull it back a little bit. I think with Paul's experience in the National Hockey League, and especially with the Edmonton Oilers, how would you not listen? How would you not be wide-eyed and listen to every word he says? And I think that relationship's been really good for not only Evan, but all the defensemen. And, Evans was a great defenseman before, and I think just with the tutelage from Paul, has just increased his playing ability and really allowed him to take that next step.
We'll take a few more. Back right, Ryan.
Chris, kind of sticking with Evan, it used to be a time where you thought about puck-moving defensemen. That's kind of what they were known for. But now you're seeing this wave of young puck-moving defensemen where they're good at everything. For someone like Evan, like what have you noticed in terms of his all-around game to where, while everybody talks about the shot, he's so much more than that?
Oh, absolutely. It's not fair to just say the shot. Obviously, the shot is noteworthy. The amount of, I don't know, some stat about 90-mile-an-hour slap shots in the NHL, and he's got twice as many as the next guy. So not only does he have the velocity, but he's got the accuracy. But the rest of his game, I was talking to this about just a few days ago. Somebody was asking me about Bouchard, and I know him quite well from just my time in the Ontario Hockey League. You know, Erie Otters, London Knights had quite a rivalry, and Evan was a young defenseman coming in the league. And, you know, watching him, I was thinking, all right, here's this young 16-year-old that's getting a lot of ice time, probably more than I think he deserves. All right, let's take advantage of him. He's going to be on the ice that much, and, you know, he looks, you know, tall, lanky, a little sleepy, maybe out of position a bit, but all right, let's take advantage of it. But I was totally wrong on my assessment on Evan at a young age, just because he was always making the right plays. He was in position, and, you know, he was a young 16-year-old who was growing into his body, but he was an outstanding player, even at that age. And, you know, what I saw from him at 16-year-old playing at the Ontario Hockey League at that level, you know, I'm kind of seeing here. Just, you know, he's always in the right position. He rarely makes a mistake. You know, forwards love a defenseman who puts a pass on their stick. And I don't know many guys who are better than him at doing that. And then, you know, defensively, I don't think he gets enough credit for how well he defends. Just because it just seems like he's always a step ahead of the play.
Second row on the left, Mark.
Ken, he was asking you signed here 5 years ago, and I'm not sure you had a team over those years that really was ready to win. You talked about guys needed to be 27, 28, whatever. Your contract's probably up. I'm not asking what's going on there, but I am saying, is this your best chance to maybe finish something that you started here 5 years ago?
I mean, obviously, you know, looking back, the first year, the season got interrupted in COVID, and we had to play that July or August best of 5 against Chicago, which wasn't a great read. I kind of watched. I thought that, you know, the Winnipeg series, the next year we lost in 4, but 3 games went to overtime. They were low scores. I think one game was 0-0, one game was 1-1. We were playing more playoff hockey. And then the third year, obviously, we went to the Stanley Cup Final Four, similar as today, but we met Colorado. You know, certainly we feel good about our team. Feel good about all the experiences that our team has had here over the last 3 years, playing in playoff series against Calgary, against Vancouver, 3 against LA, Colorado last year against Vegas. So players are a bit older. You know, they're in their prime. We've got some veterans around them, so certainly we feel good about our team. We're excited for this challenge.
We'll go to Elliot back on the middle.
Ken, not always easy to talk about the person sitting next to you, but last round, Chris had to make some really tough decisions. The goalie changes twice, taking Corey Perry out of the lineup, and he called that timeout at the end of Game 7. Just as a first-year head coach and maybe someone you didn't know that well, what did he teach you about himself last round?
Well, I would first off, right off the bat, we're 2-9-1. He came in and you know, saved the season, I guess. Team, you know, came in, team rallied around him, and we were 2-9-1 there in November, and you know, we got to 500 at Christmas time, and you know, we dug ourselves out of a big hole in a short time, and Chris was a big reason. Chris and Paul Coffey and the team really responded. And then, you know, I didn't know, I'd actually interviewed Chris for the Grand Rapids job, I don't know, how many was it, 5-6 years ago? He was down there, Final 3 or Final 4. Ryan Martin, we were looking for a coach, and so that's you know, we spent a couple of hours together, I think, at an airport hangar, wasn't it, in Detroit?
Yeah, I think it was 2017, 18.
2017, 18. So kind of, and then I kind of followed his career from that point in time, and then, you know, when things were struggling early, talked to Jeff Jackson. Jeff really knew him well. Obviously, a lot of players that Jeff represented played for Kris in Erie and made the change. And very impressive for a rookie coach. It's a hard league. I thought even during the regular season, a great feel for in-game or who should play, who shouldn't play. And then, like you said, you're in a playoff series and against Vancouver, real tough decision to make in making a goalie move. And it turned out, Pick played great for us and played the 2 games. And then I thought that it gave a chance for a reset for Stu. Certainly, like you said, the timeout. Tough taking Corey Perry out of the lineup, a guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer, and putting in Sam Carrick. Sam Carrick has played great for us in the last 2 games. So, Kris has done a lot of winning. I knew a lot about Kris because Chris's boss in the Hartford Whalers was Ryan Martin, who was my assistant manager for 7-8 years in Detroit. So certainly had a good feel. Ryan told me he's got a great feel, great instincts. They're easy to have those instincts at the American League level when there's not a lot of media. Certainly the decisions are more under the spotlight and you're scrutinized at this level. And he's very impressive in the decisions that he's made, and certainly a big factor why we're sitting here today.
We'll take 2 more. Bob?
Since we're in football country, we'll pay homage to, there's a scouting tip for defensive backs. It's not if they cover, it's how they recover when mistakes happen. So I'm going to ask Kris this question about Ryan McLeod. Ryan's an important player for you. He had a tough sequence against the Canucks. Plays 14 minutes a game. You got to get him going again. He didn't play the rest of the game against Vancouver. Just a thought on the opportunity for Ryan McLeod here in round 3 against the very deep Dallas squad.
Since I've been here, I've appreciated Ryan a lot. He brings a lot to our team. And, there's been a lot of talk about the mistake that he made in Vancouver. But, all our players make a mistake eventually at some point of a game or certainly a series. And if we're going to have success moving forward, Ryan's got to be a big part of that. Ryan's been a little snake bitten offensively through the playoffs. But his contributions on the other side of it, on the defensive side, has been remarkable. Playing against other teams' top lines. And, you look at how well our penalty kill has been performing through the playoffs. He's been a big part of that. And, when a guy's not going or hasn't scored for a while, it gets to you. But we saw him, kind of going through this process earlier in the season, shortly when I got here, hadn't scored yet and ended up getting a goal in Winnipeg. And just getting that puck in that net just gives the guy so much more confidence. And, with Ryan, if able to get a break, get one in, then we're going to see him elevate, and he'll elevate his game and get so much more confidence. But, we would like him contributing a little more offensively. But other than that, the rest of his game's been so good for us. And, he's playing a lot of minutes against other teams' top lines, and a lot of that has to do with his, he is a very smart player. But another attribute that he has is obviously his skating ability. He covers a lot of ice. So, we'll expect big things out of Ryan because he's a big part of our team.
Last one, Gene.
Kris, for you, what do you make of this moment and opportunity for you, the team, with such great expectations and, one step away from getting into a Stanley Cup final?
I'm trying to enjoy it as much as possible. It's been quite a ride, just to be able to get this position with the Edmonton Oilers. Quite an elite organization, a team that's has some superstars, a lot of good players. Being able to work with the coaching staff, the management, everybody that's along for this ride. I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as possible, and you never know when you're going to have an opportunity like this again. I think we've got an excellent opportunity if we're playing well and things go our way. Obviously, in the playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. Some breaks, whatever happens. I think through our experience, not only my time here, but the team and previous playoff experiences, kind of ready for everything. So, as a team, just trying to make the most of it.